Dr. Quinn, what are mutant strains of the COVID-19 virus and where do they come from?
You know, I get asked that question every single day by many patients because it's very confusing. I mean, you think about mutant, and that can be a little scary. You know, we think about our X-Men and the mutants, and sometimes they're bad guys, but basically a mutant of a virus is just a virus basically that's a little bit different than the original. And what happens is if someone gets infected with coronavirus, the actual virus enters the cells of that infected individual. And inside of those cells, it multiplies and makes many copies. And then when a person speaks or they cough, some of the virus particles are released from that infected person into the atmosphere. Now, some of these viruses that are released, remember they're copies, they can be a little bit different. There's something different about them. And that's what makes them a mutant strain. They're different. The problem is, like with the Delta variant, these mutant variants, the difference makes it stronger. So the difference in the Delta variant with that spike protein, the part of the virus that attaches to the cells, it's more effective. So that virus has an advantage, and that's why right now it's the dominant strain, and it's affecting a lot of people right now.
So is it likely that there will be more mutations, and is there anything that can be done to stop it?
Unfortunately, it is likely that there will be more mutations because viruses mutate. I mean, all living organisms and viruses, they mutate. They when they reproduce and they come out with new strains or new reproductions, there's going to be some difference because that is nature. And the problem right now is we're up to 100,000 infections a day average. So with all these infections, there's more of a probability that we'll have more mutants that might be even more contagious or even more virulent than the Delta strain. That's why it's so important. What we can do is we can cut down on infections. We have to go back to wearing our masks. We have to go back to social distancing and all of the other recommendations of the CDC and cut the infection rate down. That'll cut down the opportunity for mutants, and we can get through this pandemic.
And if newer mutant strains become resistant to vaccinations, what options do we have?
You know, I watched a video last night, and basically this was a discussion among a scientific community of researchers, and they were sharing new data, new information. The good news that I took from this was with these messenger RNA vaccines, such as your Moderna and your Pfizer, they can be tweaked a little bit. Because basically the way these vaccines work is messenger RNA. It's something that's within your cells already. But it's coded to produce the antibodies. But the antibodies it's coded to produce are specific for the coronavirus strains that we're dealing with now, but it also works against the Delta strain as well. Not as well as the original strain, but it still works. But if we get a mutant strain that's even more resistant, that's so much more different that these antibodies don't work at all, now it can be torqued more so that it specifically targets those specific virulent strains, and we can still have effective vaccines. But in the interim, we have to continue to do all the other precautions, such as wearing the mask, social distancing, and following all the guidelines, and understanding that if we can cut the infection rates down, we can cut down the opportunity for these mutants to come about, and we can really fight this pandemic effectively.
It's a community effort. Thank you so much, Dr. Quinn, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.